Hey, what's up, everyone? Ashley here. Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. So it's time to talk Dune, which is finally out in theaters and it's currently streaming on HBO Max. You probably already had a chance to watch it because it came out last weekend. It's the latest adaptation of the sci-fi novel by Frank Herbert. This time around, it's directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it has quite the cast, including Timothée Chalamet, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, Stellen Skarsgard, Dave Bautista, Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa, Zendaya, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, before I get into the full review of the movie, a couple things. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. Just hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Also, while you're here, feel free to jump into the comment section and share your thoughts about all things Dune, including the books, the 1984 movie by David Lynch, and of course, this latest adaptation. Okay, so on to the review. First things first, this movie review is not going to be referencing the books in any way. I read the first book many years ago. I don't remember most of it just because there's so much involved with that book. But I just wanted to say that off the bat just because, some of you might have read the books and very steeped in the knowledge of the books and may have noticed things that were included or left out. And that I might not have noticed. And so I'm just letting you know that my movie review is just going to be strictly on the new movie. Now, what I can say is that Dune is epic. It's epic in scale and it's epic in ambition. And, Denis Villeneuve is a director that I admire. I've loved so many of his films. And it's really clear from the moment you start watching Dune that he had a very clear vision of how he wanted to bring this massive world to life, because there's so many characters and places and themes that are part of this story. And I think for the most part, he does a really good job with bringing that to life. And, I think there's some things that could be improved, but overall, I think it's a very strong film. It's very well made. He does a really good job of capturing all of that and putting you in the middle of this massive world. This movie, everything feels vast, okay? Like the places, the landscapes, the rooms that these characters occupy, the gadgets and spacecraft and ships that they're on, everything just feels massive, huge. You know what I mean? It feels otherworldly. It feels like there's this huge universe out there that exists. Where these characters exist, where they're hopping from planet to planet and place to place. And again, this movie, the director does such a good job of really capturing all of that. And that also plays into the production design and the special effects. All of those things come together so well to help make Dune just this. When I say breathtaking, that's not even a strong enough word. Just how this film looks and feels, it is just beautiful. It's very cinematic, and I did see it in a theater on a very large screen, and it just immerses you in that world. Everything jumps out. It looks fantastic. I do want to mention the acting because, again, this has a really large cast. The focal point of the cast is Timothée Chalamet. He plays Paul, who is the main protagonist in this movie. Timothée Chalamet, I've seen him in a number of films, and I've always thought he's a good actor. He does a really good job here. I mean, he's having to hold this movie together. Because he's the central focus of this story, but he's able to really show the conflict within Paul, because here's a guy who is learning so much about himself and figuring out how he fits in this world, and the new things are being thrown at him, and he's discovering things about himself and discovering things about the places and people around him. And Timothée Chalamet does a really good job with portraying that and showing those emotions. And bringing this character to life. But I do want to say, probably for me, the two strongest performances in this movie are Oscar Isaac and Rebecca Ferguson, and particularly Rebecca Ferguson. She's playing, a very complex character, Lady Jessica, and her range. I mean, Rebecca Ferguson is a phenomenal actress. She needs to be in more stuff. And emotional and just having to be strong, and then also show emotion and not show emotion. She does such a great job. I just in awe of her talents. Now, even though the film looks amazing in terms of cinematography and production design, and it really goes for that epic look and feel, and the color palette and all the cool world building involved in this movie, despite all of that, my biggest problem with Dune, this version of Dune, is the storytelling. And honestly, it's like there's so much story going on. There's so many characters involved. There's so many places and themes to try to put into this one movie. And even though the movie's 2.5 hours long, there's still a lot to put in there. But unfortunately, even though there is a story there, it lacks momentum, at least for me. So, even though I enjoyed what I was watching, I loved how everything looked, and I thought the acting was great. And I was amazed by how they created all these different things within this world. I still felt like there was just this emptiness with the characters. It was just like sort of hollow and didn't really have that emotional pull I needed to really feel invested in this story. And I think that's part of the reason that I didn't love Dune. I really wanted to love Dune, but I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And I think part of the reason was because I just didn't feel like the story had that emotional pull it needed. Now, part of the reason might be because this is only part one. Yes, some people didn't know that going into the movie. I did know that going into the movie, but I thought that there was going to be maybe a better ending point for part one, to kind of like maybe have part one be almost like its own kind of, have its own sort of resolution within it, and then kind of leave like a cliffhanger until we get to part two, which, by the way, part two has been greenlit, so it's going to come 2023. Part two is going to happen. But yeah, for me, it just felt really abrupt, the ending, and it didn't feel like there was any sort of resolution within part one. And because of that, again, that there's no emotional pull with the characters. It just didn't have that completeness it needed to have, I think, even though, again, I know it was a part one. But it just needed to have some kind of completeness within that part one. But other than that, I mean, honestly, like I said, Dune is a really well-made movie, and everyone involved did a really good job. And it looks great. I really loved the world that it presented. Like it looked real, even though it's very futuristic in terms of like the technology and things. It was amazing to watch. And again, the cinematography, the shots, the scenes, all of it was just awe-inspiring and breathtaking, and the acting was really good. Just the one part that just didn't grip me was the storytelling. I just felt like it fell short there. But hopefully, maybe again, because now we're getting part two of this story. Maybe once part two comes out and I can watch that, and maybe there will be a better sense of completeness for me. So those are my thoughts on Dune. If you've seen the movie and you want to share your thoughts with me, you can do so in the comment section below. While you're here, like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to see more videos like this.